Lately, I've been playing around with my Instagram story strategy to see how I can raise my views, and I have to say, the results have been pretty incredible. I've been reaching anywhere from 10% to 13% of my audience through my stories, which is really cool considering that the average story view rate across the board is 5%. So I'm like over doubling that on a consistent basis. And so for me, for someone who has around 25,000 followers, that means I'm reaching upwards of 3,000 plus views per story. So I really wanted to break down the three main things in this video that I believe have helped me to increase my story views. And do I think I'm an Instagram story expert? By no means do I think that, but these are just some things lately that have been really helping me because I feel like for so long I was in a rut and wondering why my story views were so low. And so I'm really excited to see how this video might help you guys out too. The first thing that has absolutely helped me with driving my story views to be even higher is interactive elements. And when I say that, I mean things like quizzes, stories, question boxes, the little sliders with the emoji, things like that. That literally has been one of the number one things that has helped me in getting my story views up. And if you're not doing this and you're doing other things, but you're not incorporating these types of things, start incorporating these things now. For me, the biggest difference that it has made in my views is polls. So that's one interactive story element that I've been using that has been driving my views through the roof. I mean, even think about when you're interacting with different Instagram accounts, Instagram stories, if you see a poll, how quickly are you likely to just tap on it and want to vote on the poll? Probably pretty likely for anything like me. And so I noticed when I started incorporating polls that I started getting way more story views. I've even been strategically sharing polls before I share like a series of stories for the day. Like it's the first story I share of the day. And I find that by doing that, it gets me a lot more views, not only on that story poll, but maybe on all the other things that I really want to share with my audience. So it could even be something silly like, what should I have for breakfast today? Or how do you do this? Or what's your preference on this? It doesn't even have to be anything crazy, but just something to get people to interact and then to drive views on that story and the stories that follow it. You can also play around with things like quizzes and question box and things like that. Those can also be a really good way to drive interaction and getting your audience to interact with you. But I will say that things like the little emoji slider and the polls are a very easy way for someone to interact with you. And even quizzes are easy for someone because they just have to tap a button, right? Or tap and slide. But doing something like question boxes might be something you do with your audience down the road, or once you've built a strong connected audience, people who will actually like put questions in the question box. So I would just keep that in mind that something like polls or quizzes are probably going to drive more interaction than some other things. But yeah, polls by far have been driving me so many views lately. The second thing that has really helped to drive my story views is doing a better job at keeping it interesting. So what I mean by this is don't post the same type of story over and over and over again in the same day or like in the same continuous sequence, right? So think about it like, maybe you film a video. Maybe you want that video to only be like 2 story slides, and then you post a photo, and then you post a boomerang, and then you post an interactive poll, and then you post another video. Like mix it up a little bit and don't just have a story where you have 15 videos in a row, right? And the reason why I say this and why I think what drives this point home even more is if you've noticed, like there's a recent update. I don't know how recent it was, but I noticed it more recently on my account that when you film an Instagram story video, like in the Instagram app, after it's filmed 4 stories of that video that you're filming, it stops and then you have to start filming again. And to me, what that triggers in my mind is that Instagram doesn't want us to film more than maybe 4 stories in a row, filming in the same exact place, doing the same exact thing, right? And so I think Instagram even knows this. They know that we should be either, if we still need to talk more to the camera or do something or show something, change up your angle a little bit, or maybe change, like put the phone further away from you. Just change it up a little bit to keep it interesting. Or maybe that's your cue that you were talking way too long and redo it and make it much more short and concise. Especially when you're talking about Instagram stories where you're talking to the camera. In my personal opinion, I have found the ones that do the best are where they're like 1 1 or 2 stories long max. I usually don't do more than that unless I really need to explain something, but when I am doing talking to the camera stories, I try to keep it to 1 to 2 stories max, and not have like just a ton that people have to tap through, right? And a bonus tip here, I didn't even plan on mentioning this, but I would say when you're doing talking to the camera stories, make sure you're captioning them and don't use the caption sticker, please. I mean, you can use it. I think it's great for accessibility reasons, but even if you do use it, in addition, actually write out to caption your stories in text form so people can skim and just read without having to actually physically watch the whole story to get what you're saying. And that's gonna help to keep your audience's attention longer. It's gonna help them to actually tap through those videos and get the gist of what you're saying, or if there's somewhere they can't turn on their volume. So just a bonus tip right there, but coming back to the idea of keeping it interesting. So just make sure that you're switching it up between sharing videos or photos or boomerangs and things like that. And I think that's really gonna help to drive, or I know it's gonna help to drive your story views, because I've noticed when I am more intentional about doing that, my story views are definitely way higher, because I think the user experience is better because they're not just watching the same thing over and over and then clicking out super fast, but they're actually staying engaged and watching more of your stories. And the more people that stay engaged and watch more and more of your stories, the more people Instagram's gonna push your stories out to. So that's something that's really important to keep in mind. The third thing that's really important when it comes to driving story views is to check your analytics. Okay, so I recently did a whole video on Instagram Insights, which is like the analytics part of Instagram. We'll put it right here and link it below if you wanna jump to that video next. Especially basically giving you an overview of how to use your insights, how to analyze them. We go over Reels, posts, and stories, but stories are included in that. But the reason that I say that is to see what's working and see what's not working. Because I can tell you exactly what like specific types of stories, like whether it's personal stories or business stories or giving tips or things like that, I can tell you what works for my account, but what works for my account probably is not specifically what's gonna work for your account, right? And so try out different things. Try sharing a little peek into your life. Try sharing a peek into your workday. Try sharing some value tips for your ideal client. And the way you can see if it's working or not working, or what's doing the best, is by looking at your analytics. And again, that is looking at the number of views you get on your stories, the number of people that do not click out and keep tapping to keep viewing your stories. That tells you if it's an actually engaging story, how many people actually replied to a certain story. If it was a really good conversation starter, then you know to do more of those things. The benefit to looking at your Instagram Insights and looking at the story section of your insights is that you are able to see out of like maybe the stories you've posted in the past like 2 weeks or in the past 4 weeks, what has done the best for you, and gives you a really good overview of what are the stories that are working well and what you should do more of in the future. Because again, at the end of the day, what works specifically for me might not specifically work for you and your audience and what they want to see from you, but looking there is going to give you a really clear picture of what is working for you and you should probably do more of when it comes to your stories and what's getting you the most views and engagement and all of those different things. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. If you also happen to be someone who is also diving into the world of Instagram Reels and trying to figure all of that out too, I would really encourage you to download my free download on 10 instant ideas for Instagram Reels that you can make today, and you don't have to do any dancing or pointing to do any of these ideas. So that free download is below. We'll put a link down there if you want to grab it for yourself. And please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. It seriously means so much to me, and it helps to grow my channel and to reach more people like you, which I am incredibly grateful for. And I upload new videos every Tuesday around here. So if you want to be the first to know when a video drops, that's the way that you can do it. And I would also love to hear from you guys. If you stuck around this long, I would love for you to drop a comment below and let me know what types of Instagram stories have been working for you lately. I'd love to learn from you guys as well, and for you guys to share and for us to brainstorm together what are some things that are working recently and what are some ways we can help to drive our story views higher and reach more of the people who already follow us and who already love our content. So I am super excited to hear what you guys have to say, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.